Hi, I'm Scott Hoppy, and I'm going to go over how our accounting firm uses Asana to run all of our projects. And we've gone through several iterations in Asana for the last about 4 or 5 years, and we've really narrowed it down more and more and more. So what you're seeing now is a really refined version for everything that has to do with our tax practice. If you have any questions, you can email me at scott@whyblu, that's WHYBLU.com, and I'm glad to help out. Otherwise, leave a comment and we can go from there. All right, so let's jump into this. In Asana Home, there's now portfolios that used to be dashboards. This isn't something we use all that often because we treat every client's project, so like a tax return, amended return, quarterly payments, tax planning that may come up, not actually as a separate project in the way that Asana would call it, but we treat it as a client's project as a task in Asana. So we'll go ahead and get into that in a little bit here. For now, we have two teams, an HR team and a WhiteBlue team. HR, it has to really do with a few templates. A template for bringing someone out of the company, a template for bringing someone in the company, and then a one-to-one agenda that we share. And the one-to-one agenda is really if we have topics that we want to discuss this week, revisit later, or we're icing. And it allows both people, in this case, like a Liz and Scott agenda, allows us both to collaborate on, okay, what topics are top of mind and have them on the top of our radar. But let's close HR because the more important piece here is the WhiteBlue section, because this is really the stuff that we're using every day. We use the projects with these little dashes to kind of make sections. So management, blue, admin. Within the admin section, you have templates. And this is where we've piled up templates for tax returns, quarterly taxes, tax notices. This is also where we have some bookkeeping templates. And the best part, the nice part about Asana is the structure where you can take a project like templates, have a task, and then have the task linked to multiple projects. Like in this case, the tax season kickoff, it's linked to our projects for calendar year 2019. It was previously linked to our calendar year 2018 projects. And then we can jump in and we have some standard operating procedures. Same thing here. We have a list here of SOPs, but in reality, the ones that are important we can connect to different projects. Then we have a client list, and the client list really exists so we can add every single client alphabetically and tag them, add a tag for the client. And why we do this is it gives us a good idea that, well, one is the client definitely in Asana, and is the tag set up, and is the tag to the right person, to the right client, named right is really what I mean there. So like Alexander's tags Alexander. This becomes important when we start getting into the actual tax return setup, because it gives us an opportunity, like in this case, Alexander, to tag all the projects. Again, I use the word project, client projects, but really that's Asana tasks. We can tag them all to Alexander. So with the click of a button, you go into Alexander and you get to see everything that's coming up and everything that was done. So in this case, we're just seeing what's not done. and makes sense that we have a task from the client list. And then we also have for 2019 a 1040 task to do their individual return. And since we're looking at that, let's go ahead and 2019 is not really filled out yet because right now we're in November of 2018, so the admin section hasn't totally happened. But I did put an example one in there with a due date and the tagged task. So here's an Alexander project for their 1040. We put in a few naming schemes that are consistent, like the name here, what type of return, 1040, 1120, identifier name, states that are going to be filed, and then this GW represents if we're going to send it off for automation around like Gruntworks or something, SurePrep, etc. All the clients, if it's a March 15th, if it's an April 15th, go into their section. And then if we extend them, they go into the September 15th, October 15th. Quarterly projects will all land under here. And any projects that aren't a tax return or aren't a quarterly will sit at the very top. Here's some of those, the section of the template and SOPs. So you can see SOPs, templates from these projects that are linked here as well for easy referencing. Like tick-tie calculate training, I want this to be top of mind, so when you bring contractors in or if we need a refresher, you have quick access to that. And another one with Drake and helping them resolve error codes that pop up there. So that's 2019. Since we're at the straddling, we still have 2018 projects, and in 2018, you'll see this is a bunch of random stuff that is outside of quarterlies. All the tax returns are done. We have Q4 items coming up, so that's what's listed here. And then like I said, these are all of our other items. Now, something to note here is we use custom fields, and that's been very helpful for us to manage Asana and these client projects from a high level. So in this case, we use a red light, saying like, hey, there's something that's stopping us, we can't move forward. We have stages that we pick, and this is more to do with the tax return, like documents are in, but we haven't started. It's been sent for processing with Gruntworks. Then when it's work in progress, when it's in review 1, when it's in review 2, and then we finalize it, which means we get everything ready for the client to sign it, send it to the client, but it's not signed yet, and we use DocuSign for that. And then once it's returned back and e-filed, we can go there to e-filed. So in this case, you can see on some of these quarterlies, like Derek here, it's already e-filed, but actually, because it is, but we're waiting to make, we've made the payment for California, but then for the IRS, we need to revisit the payment because we couldn't schedule it early enough. So the only task left for us is to schedule it. We use this other column, date last touched, DLT. So we can see, even though there's a due date of whatever, this is the date last touch that someone did anything with it. And we use a MM/DD/YY format. And then we have a comment field here to kind of give a high level comment. So if we're looking at a bunch of, like imagine you have a bunch of tax returns, we can see date last touched. We can hover over and see the comment, oh, December project, okay. And SH 6/26/18, that tells me, okay, that comment was done by Scott Hoppy and it was done in June. And then the last thing, really the last thing that we show on this board is have they paid. And that getting paid is important. And it also helps us know, well, don't file it until they've paid it type thing. The only one that's hidden here from the view, but it's visible when you click into the task, is Drive. We put the URL to the client's Drive folder, so it's really easy to go from here to Google Drive to work on the client's project. You don't have to open up a new tab and navigate there. So you can see the structure there on what we do with each project each year, or how we categorize all the projects of a year into one Asana project. The downside to this structure is a lot of the default reporting, like portfolios and the tracking, really wants each one of these things to be a project. And we don't so much like that layout. I prefer to have a much more consolidated view with a lot more customizing that I can do in terms of comments, field, and sorting, and it was hard for us to make each one of these an Asana project and manage it effectively. The list here just got way too long, and there's no sorting function of projects here. But we've had a lot of success with this setup. So let's go ahead and dive it. Check out a couple of these other things. The manifesto and good stuff. That's just some firm background, like a link to our manifesto, some acronyms we use, some links to highlight that are from our blog for background. Firm information like our color scheme, the codes for those, and then another video that's made is around the Google Drive and the folder structure. We also have an item here as like what's automated at the firm, and that's our master list. So we're tracking the things that are automated and what it impacts. So if there's maybe any type of issue with automation, it's easy for us to drill in. There's a meet the team section that will put people's faces, names, birth dates, and it just gives us a quote is something that we're doing. So it gives us a big spot to see a high level of who's on, who's around, and what they're doing, where they're from. And then we have a section that kind of again highlights some tax knowledge docs that we may want to reference later. And in this case, like some things that we've done here that's been helpful is look at S corps and what's unreasonable compensation. We have a whole workbook around this and a product on doing a reasonable compensation analysis. But before we had that, one of us went to a CPE and got this 9-factor test into Asana, had it referenced. We were able to build a product out of that that's been well received. So for the most part, that gives you a taste of how we have it set up. The nice part of this is you can go to the complete it task. Now you can see all the tax returns that are done. Let's look at let's look at something like this one here. You can see, okay, date last touched, stage, e-filed, the drive link, they paid. This is the old template for the tax return. We've refined it. But something that we were doing too is we're leaving end of day notes into the comment field here. So that way we knew, okay, where were things left off at as it's gone through the process. And having this written down has been really helpful to reference later, and especially when you have extended clients and you're like, okay, well, we worked on it and then we put it down, then we came back to it, but where did we leave off? Very helpful for getting ramped up there. Also, if a client emails in and says, hey, what's going on with this? It gives us a really good spot to go back and be like, oh, I know where it is in the process, and it allows myself or anyone else to be really responsive to the clients. And we don't necessarily have to wait for Georgia in this case to tell us, well, what's up with the project. We can get the information ourselves. So that was another really positive adjustment that we made in the last few years. Now the board is something that we were using for our daily stand-up meetings. And what we were able to do with the board is list everything out, but as we finished items, we could put them we'd check them off, put them under done, and have our new items up above, follow-up items marked off. And when we do our daily stand-ups, it's a really quick conversation. What did you finish? Look at your done column. So we get to celebrate the wins. What's coming up? What are you going to work on today? So we can talk through those items, and then even if you're not working on something, but it's an item that you're waiting for a response back on, it can sit in the follow-up spot, and that puts us all on the same page in terms of are the lists and is everyone working on something you expect them to be working on? And if they're not, we can talk about it. But if they are, then they've already taken care of that. There's no micromanaging because they've already gone out and said, hey, this is what I'm doing, and we just go, okay, that sounds good. Carry on. If there's any roadblocks, we talk about it, or if we need to set up a separate meeting to go into a client in depth, we do that. And just to show you like the management section with this, there's nothing in there. It's purely just for categorizing and making the team wide blue bucket the projects off, so it's visually easier to jump between them. And that's also why we kind of did this the color scheming as well. I'm not going to show the sales one only because there are email addresses on there that I can't hide in this video. But mainly what we do on the sales side is when we have a client fill out a Google form to book a call with us, and when they fill that Google form out, it sends their name and email to the sales list, so we can monitor if they filled the form out, have they scheduled their call yet? Yes or no. And if they've scheduled their call, have we completed it? Yes or no. And then if they've completed their call, are they closed? Have we converted them to a client, or is it still open? And how we do that yes, no, and going through those stages, we just have sections like this, and we move them down the sections. So someone fills out a Google form, they pop out up top, and once we complete a call, we move them down to the next one. Once we know that they're a client, we move them down to the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And it just helps us monitor the sales funnel. It kind of creates Asana into a little CRM. So this is how we use this as an accounting firm. The other tools that we bring in are Slack and Google Drive. We use Google Drive and Zapier to create automation between Asana and our Google Sheets. And then we use Slack to get those comments to a client's tax return to come through our Slack feed. Basically, if you're following in an Asana, it's going to send it to your feed in Slack. So it keeps you on top of the communications going on both platforms. And the third thing that I use is Gmail. You can easily create tasks from your Gmail and bring them into Asana using the Asana add-on for Gmail. That's been pretty recent. I think it came out in 2018, and it's been great. The nice part about using Asana is it's constantly improving, and we don't have to do anything. We don't have to invest anymore. It just keeps evolving. The UI gets better, the connections get better, and that's been really powerful for us because we're built on Google products. So if you have any questions about the setup, I'm glad to help out. If you've enjoyed the video, let me know. If you're looking to implement this yourself and bring Asana, Slack, Google Drive, all of them or none of them or some of them into your practice, let me know, and I'm glad to share what we're doing and help you out in getting your own setup. You can email me again at scott SCOTT@yblue.com.